Life Audio.
Welcome to the Crosswalk Devotional. We're glad to have you listening with us. Today's topic is how praying in the mountains can help us experience spiritual renewal. We'll return with the devotional after a brief message from our sponsors. Up on a Mountainside, written and read by Whitney Hopler. Immediately, Jesus made the disciples get into the boat and go on ahead of him to the other side, while he dismissed the crowd. After he had dismissed them, he went up on a mountainside by himself to pray. Matthew 14:22-23 NIV. Immediately, Jesus made his disciples get into the boat and go on ahead of him to Bethsaida, while he dismissed the crowd. After leaving them, he went up on a mountainside to pray. Mark 6:45-46 NIV. One of my favorite places to pray, when possible, is up on a mountainside. I don't live close to mountains, but whenever I'm traveling to a mountainous area, I make sure to schedule prayer time on a mountain. Recently, I visited North Carolina and enjoyed praying on several mountainsides, including at Ruth's Prayer Garden at the Billy Graham Training Center at the Cove. Ruth Graham also loved to pray in the mountains. She wanted the people who came to the center to experience the awe-inspiring setting of a mountainside garden set aside specifically for prayer. The Bible describes how Jesus went up on a mountainside to pray after a busy day at work helping crowds of people. He had just miraculously fed more than 5,000 people with only 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish. After that, Jesus made a deliberate choice to seek intimacy with his Father. The mountainside became a sacred space where Jesus communed deeply with God. Up on a mountainside, Jesus found the renewed strength the human part of him needed. The Bible records that after his mountain prayer time, Jesus walked on water. What a powerful picture of spiritual strength that is. Shortly after walking on water, Jesus encountered more crowds of people who demanded more hard work from him. Jesus went into that work refreshed by his prayer time up on a mountainside. His example challenges us to consider the importance of intentional prayer in our own lives. As we gaze upon the expansive creation spread out before us, consider the majesty and sovereignty of God. The mountains stand as silent witnesses to God's power and glory, inviting us to draw near and commune with him. In the presence of such magnificence, our worries fade into insignificance, replaced by a profound sense of wonder. Just as Jesus sought the mountainside for prayer, we too can find spiritual renewal by retreating to the mountains. The mountains serve as sacred spaces where the barriers between heaven and earth seem to blur, allowing us to experience God's presence with us. In the solitude of the mountains, away from the distractions of daily life, we can quiet our minds and hearts, making space to listen to God's voice. As we travel up the slope of a mountain, we leave behind the noise and busyness of the world below. The physical act of climbing becomes a metaphor for our spiritual journey toward a closer relationship with God. Each step we take can bring us closer to our Creator, who formed us and the mountains alike, and who holds all power and authority in his hands. Up on a mountainside, surrounded by the majesty of God's creation, we see how small we are in comparison to God's greatness. Yet we also see God's love and care for us reflected in the nature that surrounds us. In the presence of such awe-inspiring beauty, we gain a valuable perspective of our lives. We see them in light of God's eternal purposes. The challenges that once seemed insurmountable to us shrink in comparison to the vastness of God's loving power. Looking out from the mountainside reminds us that our God is a God of limitless possibilities, able to do far more than we could ever ask or imagine. Intersecting faith and life. As you reflect on praying in the mountains, consider these questions. How does the majesty of mountains reflect God's greatness for you? Are you feeling overwhelmed by the demands of life right now? How can you plan to retreat to a mountain or even just a hill to pray for peace and perspective? How can you include moments of solitude with God in natural settings as part of your regular prayer life? Further reading: Luke 6:12, Matthew 17:2, Mark 9:2, Psalm 121, 1 through 2, Isaiah 55:12.
The Crosswalk Devotional is a production of Life Audio and Salem Media. If you liked what you heard today, please take a second to rate and review this podcast in your favorite podcast app so that more listeners like you can find the show. For more faith-filled, inspirational podcasts, visit us at lifeaudio.com.